Hi there everyone, it's Marc Laurenson here from Sydney Astrology School, and thanks for joining me as we enter into episode number 10 in the Sex and Intimacy series. And in this episode we're going to be looking at the sign of Capricorn and the planet Saturn. Now before I get into it, I just want to say that this is not for people with the sun or the moon in Capricorn. It is more for people who've got Capricorn on the cusp of the 5th house and the 8th house, or the planet Saturn in those particular houses, because those are the houses that have everything to do with falling in love and sex and intimacy. So there's going to be a lot of people going, sex and Saturn? Really? But I want to actually say that everything in astrology is supposed to work, and it can work. And Saturn and sex and Saturn in those particular houses, or Capricorn on the cusp of those particular houses, can work and can work really well. But we have to understand how it does that, okay? Now, when you're looking at Saturn, you're always going to be looking at work. You're always going to be looking at a sense of application. And Saturn is always going to be about a sense of mastery. So in those particular houses, there is a sense of taking charge here, or mastering it, or getting the diploma in these particular areas. So sex and intimacy and falling in love is that feeling of this is a mission of sorts. And so this can be taken quite seriously by some people. But I want to actually say that it's not necessarily serious in that bogged down hard work kind of way. It can be played that way, of course, but you know what, you'd have to be very, very conscious of that. But it is more about you becoming the best version of yourself via being able to get close to somebody. Intimacy and sex is your way of self-improvement. It's your way of climbing your own mountain. It's your way of achieving who you want to be, basically, in these particular areas, okay? And so it becomes, as I said, it becomes something like an ambition of sorts. It becomes something that you want to achieve and you want to do well at. But what I want to say is you have to be kind of careful here, because Saturn in these areas can easily be given to somebody else. In other words, if you're trying to become Saturnized yourself in this particular area and you're not doing it terribly well, chances are you'll attract other people into your life that will do it for you. In other words, that people you get close to or people you have intimate relationships with might actually be the people who want to boss you around. They might want to take charge of you. They might want to control you. So it's best you get there first. Not that you want to control somebody else or take over or get on top of somebody else or be the boss of somebody else. That's not what it's about either. But it's about you being in a place in the driver's seat, so to speak, so you can actually make the choices that you need in this particular area and draw the boundaries that you need to draw too, because being boundary conscious is very, very much about the Saturn in these particular areas, okay? Now, what I want to say about this, because Saturn is always about working on yourself, and Saturn is always about a sense of doing it alone, okay? So I want to say before we even enter into these areas, before we get close to people, we have to Saturnize ourselves. In other words, we have to be in a place where we're 100% okay and self-reliant and self-responsible, you know, for your emotional well-being, your physical well-being, your spiritual well-being, your mental well-being, and even on levels of intimacy and closeness, a feeling of being strong enough in yourself to be able to handle whatever goes down in these particular areas. And so you need to be able to be strong, you need to be able to be solid, you need to be able to feel that nobody's going to push you around in these areas. You know, you are the rock, so to speak, in these particular areas. And so when you enter into these areas yourself, the 5th house or the 8th house areas where you want to get close and you want to fall in love, you're going to be you're going to be anchored enough in these particular areas to be able to hold your own. And this is really, really important. I want to say that there's a seriousness going on here. As I said, you want something long lasting. You don't want something that's a flash in the pan. You know, you don't want one night stands, really don't do it for you. You are a person who wants to know what this really means in an enduring way. So getting close to somebody and enjoying sex with somebody could actually always feel a little bit like the beginning of a story or the beginning of a journey for you. And so there is something about you being able to be in that frame of mind before you even enter into these particular areas yourself. Otherwise, it could be very disappointing for a lot of people, because you know they might be latching onto something that they think has a future and it doesn't. So I think it's really important for people with Saturn in these houses or Capricorn on the cusp of these houses to be able to come into a place of knowing what you want before you even enter it. Because when you know what you want before you even enter it, you might be avoiding a lot of the more, I want to say, the waste of time kind of things that can go on when you're not 100% sure of who you are and what you're looking for in these particular areas, okay? Now, becoming the person that you want to become in these particular areas is important, because often you're going to go into these particular relationships or getting close to somebody and trying to look for it in somebody else and say, I want this person to be like this. This is the person that I want in my life, and this is the person that I want to spend, you know, the rest of my life with. But at the same time, it's about, are you the person you'd want to spend the rest of your life with? Are you the person that you can depend on? Are you the person of some sense of integrity or some sense of self-respect? Are you the person that you are looking for, that you want? And so you've got to work on yourself. Saturn's always going to be about that in the end. You know, Capricorn energy is always about bringing everything back to you. The responsibility is in your hands. So you need to become the person that you want to become. You know, you might be looking for it in somebody else, but you have to get there first. You have to be this person first. You have to be this person of honesty. You have to be this person of respect for the other person and respect for the relationship, and of course respect for yourself. And you know, a sense of integrity on all levels is so important for Saturn in these houses, or definitely, you know, Capricorn on the cusp of these houses too. And so the fun and the joy and the play comes from Saturn, meaning you are responsible for that. You are responsible for how this plays out for you. You are responsible for the amount of closeness and the amount of love that happens in your life. You are responsible for that. So therefore, you can't blame the other person. You can't actually say, oh, it's their fault and that's why it's not working. It's kind of like, Saturn won't handle that. Saturn doesn't buy that. So you've got to bring it all back to yourself all the time, because these particular houses for you really do want to work. These are the houses you want to master. These are the houses you want to accomplish. And so you do have to put a little bit of extra time into these places. You do have to put a little bit of extra focus in what you want out of love, what you want out of sex, and what you want to have out of intimacy, to make your life better, to make you feel more full, to make you feel more whole, and to actually understand the energy of closeness and how sacred that is. And for you to be able to come into a strong, solid, integral, honest, respectful place with this lifetime for you, then this area, and possibly the area of getting married and possible or having a partner, a lifetime partner, and the joy that will come with that, you know, all of that is going to be just so important for you. And so if you can accomplish what Saturn wants you to accomplish in this area, your relationships are just going to be so wonderful.